I need to share some things on what I believe is really happening in our country. This is the biggest, most well-funded and coordinated global coup I have ever seen. Make no mistake, that's exactly what's going on right now. COVID was a very convenient tool to destroy the Western economy. Once you destroy the Western economy, all kinds of things are possible. I told you yesterday that there is a great reset coming. Now, we're not talking about a restart. Remember, we're going to stop the economy and then we're going to restart it again, and it'll have this V shape. Well, that's ridiculous, and it was never tried before. It was a risk, and it's just not going to happen. And that's not what they were going for anyway. They're looking for a global reset. And according to the World Economic Forum, the global reset will be decided in January. Now, I want to just hit a couple of things from the Economic Forum, and then I'm going to show you how well planned this really is. First, from the Economic Forum, the virus hit when many countries around the globe were already demonstrating nationalistic sympathies by looking at their interest firsts, often driven by the feeling of several who experienced or felt left out of the benefits of globalization. Who are they talking about? They're basically talking about England and the United States. When England pushed back and said, no, we want Brexit. When we hired Donald Trump to be our president, and he started talking about nationalism. Nationalism can be very dangerous if it is coupled with socialism. But nationalism by itself, a pride in the country and take care of your own self first, not at the expense of others, but take care of your own country or you will not be able to be a help to anyone else. That is a good thing, but not according to globalists. Then they go on to say it would be a wasted opportunity to then only focus on a restart as we have fundamental issues in our society, in our economy, and our environment. Okay, well, now, wait a minute. Now we're going to have the globe and the World Economic Forum reset our society and the environment and the economy. They lay out 3 steps that have to be done. First, inequality. Due to unemployment, we risk increased inequality within countries, hitting the weakest the hardest. But there is also a risk of inequality growing between countries. Okay, well, there will always be inequality between countries, and the inequality here in America is spreading, but that's mainly because the government is favoring the banks. They're not bailing anybody out on the bottom level. You see all of the entrepreneurs that are small guys, they're not getting any help. They're helping all of the big guys. We in the West, they say on inequality, we in the West can now do something for developing countries, especially in Africa. We must invest. Why would we be investing in Africa right now when our economy is in the crapper? The second goal of the Economic Forum is climate change. The critical question now is how can we take a more and faster action with more emphasis on sustainability and circularity? And then the third goal of the Economic Forum on this great, not restart, God forbid we have a restart, but what they're calling a reset. The third goal is to reset capitalism. A change in capitalism is needed, according to the World Economic Forum. The focus should shift from short-term and profit only to longer-term, incorporating value creation for people and the planet, moving from shareholder value to stakeholder interests. With the economy in a recession, it is tempting to look at short-term profits by declaring cash as king and postponing investments. That applies to both countries and companies. So what they are advocating here is a change from capitalism to literal fascism. Communism owns the companies outright. Fascism is a public-private partnership where the company and the government intermix. That's the problem. That's not a solution. That's the problem. Now, I want to go through a couple of things and show you how well coordinated all of this is. Do you know why our kids aren't going back to school? Our kids are going back to school because they're being taught right now government is in charge, and government can tell you at the smallest local and home level exactly what to do, and you will not buck the system. But they're looking for healthy schools. Now, let me define healthy schools according to the teachers' unions. All schools must be supported to function as community schools with adequate numbers of counselors and nurses and community parent outreach workers. The demands in their list of demands, actually called demands, they demand also police-free schools. Now, I thought that was the opposite way we were going, with the heavier armed security, because nobody can have a gun. So you needed to have police, experts. Police are used to handling guns. But now that police are bad, who's going to protect our kids? This is a safe school? But wait, it goes on. They also want a moratorium on evictions and foreclosures, direct financial handouts to those with unspecified critical social needs, a moratorium on charter and voucher programs, and standardized testing. They want adequate and equitable funding and a fresh influx of cash for public schools by taxing the billionaires and Wall Street. Since when did this become a political organization? This is Marxism. The funds, although not directly specified, according to Journeys for Justice Alliance, the Chicago-based activist organization, they're the ones who authored the demands. They want a full moratorium on private education, not just charter schools and voucher programs. So they want to shut down all other education programs in the country. This is your teachers union. It's supported by Chicago Teachers Union, the Boston Teachers Union, the United Teachers of Los Angeles, the Massachusetts Teachers Association, the Center for Popular Democracy, the St. Paul Federation of Educators, Midwest Academy, the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association, the National Educators United, the Racine Educators United, the Little Rock Education Association, the Oakland Education Association, and, of course, the Democratic Socialists of America. So you have that going on where they are right out in the open saying Marxism is the plan. But then you also have the 1619 Project going into our schools. This is ideologically driven to destroy our history. When this is officially taught in our schools, America will be lost forever. It will be 20 years before we are having teachers deny we ever even went to the moon. Or if we did, it was because of some socialist that saved the day by figuring it all out. They are now teaching this in our school. It's revisionist history. The New York Times, the project's creator, admits that it's not history. They say this is just an imagining. Well, then why are we teaching this imagining in history? It needs to be real history. So they've got the schools right where they want them, which means they have the kids. But school isn't enough. The reason the Babysitters Club and other shows on Netflix are promoting trans and other LGBT issues is that Netflix has the director of inclusion for content and marketing, and his name is Darnell Moore. You're not going to hear this from anybody else. Darnell Moore is the gay activist who co-wrote BLM's founding principles. He's also an anti-Israel guy, an outspoken pro-Palestinian BDS guy. He was part of our Destroying the Family episode a few weeks back, where they want to destroy the nuclear family. The Babysitters Club and shows for your children on Netflix are designed and helped designed by this guy. So they got your kids there. But they also have your kids at sports now. In the end zones, they're now saying that social justice phrases are going to be put in the end zones. We already have everybody taking a knee, except for a couple people who are truly brave. It wasn't brave of Colin Kaepernick to take a knee. He got a deal with Nike. That's not bravery. That is gross capitalism. The ones who are brave are the ones who are standing and not kneeling today. They're being defriended by everyone. They're never going to get a deal with Nike or anybody else. They'll be lucky to get a renewal of their contract. That is courage. But now all of our sports teams are being hijacked, so your kids will get it there, and so will you. Meanwhile, we've shut down the economy. Here's a story from the New York Times. The coronavirus turns Midtown Manhattan into a ghost town, causing an economic crisis. Gee, you think so? Well, what does that help? Why would you do that? Well, you would do that if you knew that society was headed for the fourth great industrial or technological revolution, and the jobs were going to be lost, and everything had to be changed, and all the economies needed to be changed, and somehow or another downtowns were all going to be destroyed, and big office buildings. Nobody's going to go to those things. So how do we do it? Instead of telling the American people, we just cause this to happen all at once. And they'll be so grateful to us when the new normal and the reset actually goes into play. They won't care anymore that we've taken their money, we've taken their goals, we've taken their freedoms, we've taken their businesses, we've taken their country, their religion, and everything that they believed in. They'll be glad we took it when we return what little we can or care to. The dollar moves into a new era of weakness for currency as gold gains. Gold was up over $2,000 an ounce. You're going to see the stock market go exactly as my prediction, but I'm wrong on timing. 2 or 3 years ago, 2016, I thought it was going to be the summer of unrest. I thought it would be the summer of riot in 2016. Sorry, 4 years later, it's the summer of peace. I also told you at that time that the Dow would rocket and we'd have a melt up and it would go to 40,000. We could see that, but it's all about the dollar losing all of its value. Gold is going to go through the roof. So will the stock market. God help us all, because it's a reset. It's not a restart. It's a reset of the dollar that is coming. And I'm telling you now, for fairness sake, our dollar and our value in our country will be just as much as it is for some of those darn poor countries in Africa. And then we can all be equally miserable. Mark my words. Prepare for the restart and the reset. Choose which side you're on. It's going to be hard to stand for a restart, but that's the only thing that will save your freedom.